Hi, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. Really great to be here this evening. This evening, we're speaking to Franko, Csuba, who is from Hungary. And before we get Daya on the screen, you can also see next week we have Mervyn, and you can see all the amazing people that are up next. Before we get Daya on screen, I did ask a few of our community members just to share a little bit about Daya. And so we'll start with this from Oliver, who was a participant in our coach certification with Daya as a mentor. And he just said, as a mentor coach, Daya was a source of inspiration and motivation to the team and myself. She pushed the limits by challenging us to explore technologies and directions she has not thought of yet, and shared extremely useful hands-on tips and tricks from her EXO Sprint experience. And then next, we have Emily Sidney Smith, who's the CEO at EXO, who just said, Daya did a wonderful job coaching in the Vodacom Sprint. We particularly valued her resourcefulness in getting her team to great outcomes with difficult circumstances, smart distilling of complex information, her gravitas with all levels, and her unflappable can-do approach. Then we have from Peter Christoph, who's also based in Hungary and has done work with Daya. While working with Daya, I learned how deep and wide her knowledge and experience are, especially in explaining complex things in a simple way. This helps leaders understand the importance of resilience, scalability, and the need for future-proofing their organizations. I definitely recommend working with her if you're interested in creating an abundant and exponential future for your business. And they continue. Many people had a lot of things to share about Daya. We have Augusto, who is a coach within the OpenExO community, just said Daya is smart, open-minded, and people-sensitive. We work together for an important multinational corporation. She is a terrific coach, being able to push the boundaries of what can be achieved, yet being able to cope with complexity. And the last one comes from Tanya Hodgkinson, who was also a participant in the coach certification with Daya as the mentor, saying, Daya's presentations were definitely some of the most useful parts of the journey because it brought the best practice and examples from real-world sprints. Her feedback was always both supportive and constructively critical, thus modeling really how well we need to approach providing sprint participants with feedback. So those are some of the comments that people have given. So Daya, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to OpenExO Live. How are you doing? And can you explain to the viewers a little bit about your background and who you are?
Well, hi, Kevin. Wow, it was amazing to hear these comments about my work, from these beautiful people I've been working with. Oh my God, I need 1 second to to digest it. Maybe even more after this conversation. So a little bit about my background. I'm coming from the technology sector, but I've spent my entire life in business development, growth hacking, building strategies around exciting technological solutions. And I have led a startup myself, which was back around the year 2000, focusing on developing software solutions for large financial companies. So that was where my whole journey around innovation and startup started. And then I just continued this journey, and I spent my last 10 years in exploring how large organizations can adapt to the fast-changing environment, and how experts can learn all these fast-moving subjects that they need to be able to successfully navigate in this, exponentially changing world. And fast-moving subjects, I mean some of the technological areas like machine learning, deep learning, all of the exponential technologies, but also the organizational aspects, the new ways of business modeling, the new ways of collaborating with other human beings, fellow corporations, and other members of the value creation ecosystem.
Absolutely. So it's really great to have you here. You've been a part of the community for some time, and before we continue, I did want to just remind those who are watching live, you can write a comment or a question, and we will be looking at those throughout the broadcast. If there is anything that you want to ask Daya, we'll hopefully be able to throw that in. So just a reminder there. But Daya, before this conversation, we had a bit of a chat around, organizations and the need for radical innovation. And in order for an organization to do that, what should organizations be doing to achieve that?
Okay, so that's the $1,000,000 question, right? It's not an easy task for an established organization to start thinking in radical exponential terms because there are so many limitations. They are coming with a legacy that defines how they work, and that creates kind of like a risk-free, or let's say a manageable environment for them to work, even though there are a lot of changes in their business. So from the past, we bring this kind of anticipation or this kind of feeling that, staying within the known circumstances, within the business model that we have created, the strategy that we have created in the past, and that we experimented with, and that we know really well, is a safe thing to do. So most organizations, what they do is they try to improve what they already have a little bit, year by year, so to become a little bit better, to grow a little bit, and to be safe, to manage their risks on the market. But actually, this kind of assumption that we are safe if we are just improving what we already know and what we already have is a false assumption, because in fact, in this fast-changing world, if you are just thinking in the frames of references that you already explored in the past, you are actually quite likely to miss the boat, to miss the train when things start to speed up and disruption starts in your industry. The safest thing to do today is to step out of the comfort zone and start experimenting around the areas, partly the core competencies that the organization has, but also in new areas that nobody explored before us. And every single organization must do it. You cannot be a laggard. You cannot just follow others in your market, because once an exponential business model kicks in your industry, or a disruptive player arrives, it might actually, and quite likely to be too late to start thinking about how to participate in the game.
Absolutely. So essentially, we need to be able to think of those original solutions versus staying in the current track. But what is the methodology that companies are using? Like, what are you doing with companies in order to be able to see that sort of picture beyond their scope of what they're doing today?
Yeah. So this is what I think the OpenExO sprints are a brilliant methodology for, to get people out of their comfort zone and to let them think in wider terms, in more exponential and future-proof terms, without risking the core business, because that's the biggest fear a large organization would have, or even small businesses. You don't want to risk, the boat you are sitting in at the moment. So we are running a sprint with two focuses. One focus is on the core business, on the existing business model, on how to disrupt our business from inside, from our existing organization, and come up with radical solutions to be able to grow exponentially. And the other approach we have is to act as an external disruptor, to innovate on the edges, on the edges of the organization, to create something brand new, maybe enter into a new industry, or even create an industry that, instead of just trying to bite off like a larger piece of the pie that you are already eating, just bake a bigger pie, create something new. Now, this is not a trivial thing to do, because we are trying to extrapolate to the future based on our past experiences. So what we are doing is really creating a context, like we call it an awake session. We are creating an ambiance, an atmosphere, passing on some virus of a future-proof mindset, where people are able to step away from what they know already and start imagining what the future could be like. And I think this is like a very important point of the work what we do, that we don't take things for granted. We don't try to build solutions based on our past experiences, but we really take organizations to zoom out, even go out to 10 years from now, and imagine what's the impact that they are trying to achieve in 10 years. Imagine what's the future that they are willing to build. And then from that future vision, come back to today and look at what can we do today. How can we use radical technologies, new business models, and so on and so forth to achieve that future vision? And this is kind of like the zoom in, zoom out approach is something that I find really useful for organizations to forget a little bit about what's there already and just really try to imagine what is the huge amount of possibilities that are out there and that they could harvest as a business. And let me just pause here for one more second, because I think mentioning the MTP is really important here. And I know that you've been speaking about methodology and the MTP, but actually that's the whole kind of drive in the middle of everything. Like instead of just focusing on building for 10% growth, 20% growth, 5% growth year by year, and focusing on, getting a good bonus at the end of the year. Actually, if organizations learn to create something meaningful, to have an MTP, a massive transformative purpose that makes sense in 10 years or even in 20 years on the long run, they are securing their business. And this is the first thing that they need to understand and start developing and innovating towards that massive transformative purpose. And that will give like a real drive to a future-proof business and building something that will last on the long run.
Absolutely. And the thing that we see with many businesses is because they are very revenue growth focused, it's quite difficult to look at impactful innovation that perhaps is not generating revenue now. What have you seen in organizations and how people become that? Obviously leadership needs to get this, but how do we overcome that?
Yeah, so in fact, what I experienced, and that's quite a promising trend, is that top leaders, particularly CEOs and C-level leaders, and also leaders of small businesses who feel the change much faster than a large corporate, they tend to realize that if they are not turning the boat towards a purpose-driven direction, they might be losing a lot of things. First of all, they will be losing talent, because like even today, if you look at some of the trends, 70% of employees don't want to work for an employer who doesn't have a purpose. People just don't want to go to work for a salary. They want to work for a reason, for a meaning. So if you really want to work with talented people, which everybody needs right now, because the whole context we work in changes just so fast, you really need to do something that makes sense on the long run. That's one thing. The second thing is there is a huge pressure on the consumer side, particularly from the young generations, like Generation Z and younger. They are just not willing to consume solutions and products that are destroying, the world we live in. They really want to see purpose-driven organizations. And I've been recently engaging more and more with the younger generation, started working with the age group of 18 and 22, and interviewing these people, these, let's say, kids or young people about the challenges they really feel passionate about. I really encountered some almost like heartbreaking sentences. Like they were saying, the previous generations are just leaving this world behind with so many challenges we will need to solve when we grow up, and we don't know how to do it, and who is out there to help us do it. So I think this is what the EXO community is really amazing for, that there are practices and amazing experts in our community who can help the young generations to do it, to solve those problems that we are leaving behind for the youngsters, but also to help large organizations to not create more trouble, to create solutions and help, the future consumers to engage with them in a meaningful way. So if you are not working based on this kind of approach, you are losing your talent, you are going to lose your consumers on the long run as well. So you are going to lose your profit and revenues at the end of the day.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So it's really showing leadership, what that journey will look like. And I guess we do have examples in the past of organizations that didn't do that didn't focus on purpose, and unfortunately are no longer necessarily with us. And as you're running these sprints and running like exponential services within organizations, one of the aspects, that's really important, and it's in our name, OpenExO as an example, is really that sort of radical openness in terms of that innovation. What are you seeing companies doing, and how do you get them to really think that way in terms of open collaboration versus really trying to keep that secret to themselves?
Yeah, well, that's another big bottleneck that large organizations are facing. I think most of them feel the need for opening up their innovation processes, even their business models, and creating something collaborative. We have amazing examples of exponential organizations and how creating the network effect, a scalable business model, drives like amazing growth and impact. But the big question with established organizations is like, which part of my business am I willing to share? What should I protect and patent, and what are the things that I can open up and let other stakeholders interact with, whatever I have, so that we can create more together. So that's the really big question that all of these organizations are trying to ask, and most of them are really stuck in this old kind of mindset of I must own something so that thing can produce profits for me. But actually, the platform business model, the ecosystem business model, all these kind of scalable network-based models are about exactly the opposite. Like, you don't need to own anything. You just have to create a marketplace. Well, just have to create. Of course, it's not that easy, but you have to create a value-creating ecosystem where every member who participates in the value exchange can extract some of the value for themselves. And this is the trend that drives really the largest and most successful and fastest growing organizations today. Most of the Fortune 500 companies are somehow involved in this kind of thinking. So if we are stuck in the I must own, I must control, I must keep it as a secret kind of mindset, we are actually, again, likely to be obsolete in the coming years. And of course, I'm not saying like all the large organizations or small businesses should open up completely and just share everything freely, although many of them do, and it works pretty well. But there might be some businesses, some parts of your business, like a patent, that you want to just slice off and keep for yourself, and share your customers, or share your innovation processes, or share your sales processes, and share the revenues with those stakeholders that are participating. So there are so many ways to do it, but we all need to start. Organizations need to start thinking in these terms. Otherwise, challenges might come along.
No, absolutely, and of course, I mean, we all are living in a challenging time right now. But what is it that you would say to any organization leadership, right now in what should they be doing to be remaining relevant and actually thriving as we move forward?
That's a very good question, Kevin. Actually, I was thinking a lot about it, because what we saw in the past few months is that organizations and leadership teams were really busy trying to kind of maintain their business, move everything online, move everything into the virtual space so that they can work, from home and serve their customers from anywhere, which is basically what we call the digital transformation. But what I would advise leaders is to not to lean back and relax and think that they have done the work. In fact, going all digital and being able to work and serve customers from anywhere is just the first step, or even the first step, or the step before the first step. They just bought a ticket to the game. The game actually just starts. And beyond digital transformation, what happens is digital disruption, where AI, nanotechnology, quantum computing, 3D printing, and all these technologies are just coming into play. and create a brand new status quo in industries, or even wash away industries and create brand new arenas of collaboration. So my advice to these leaders would be just not to lean back, just enjoy for a moment that you are now online. Congratulations. But now really think about, what's the next step and what is the future that your organization is there to build.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that is so important that people realize that this is actually step one, or as you say, just the ticket to transforming an organization, to being able to take advantage of all the technologies, because the technologies are not going to make the difference, right? So, we often say that sprint processes transform the mindsets of the individuals within the company, the leadership, and then the individuals. Would you also agree that is vital in any transformation?
Absolutely. And there is so much discussion going on about mindset. What I missed a little bit is to define actually what is the type of mindset that is needed to be successful in the future. And I think that's exactly what we pass on as part of the sprints. We show certain patterns to the organization, patterns of being able to imagine a future that is beneficial to all, being able to imagine solutions that are going to drive revenue on the long run, and being able to build it after all and create, really positive impact with their collaborations. So the mindset to be able to do it and to be able to really create something original. And I think original is a very important word here. This is what they can learn throughout a sprint. And this is that if they experience it once, they will never forget it again. Once you show a new pattern to an organization or to a person, that will stay forever. And I think just talking about the mindset shift is not enough. Showing what this mindset shift is, making them live it, experience it in a real process, that is something. Because once they go through that, they will definitely not forget what it means ever again. And they will not be able to go back to the old mindset and the old way of working. That's our experience. That's my experience from my projects as well, and from the sprints.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. Now, Dea, we could probably talk on this topic and many others for a really long time. But it has been so great to chat to you, for you to share some of your knowledge and experience around EXO, the sprint. Is there any last words you'd like to share before we let you go?
Well, keep calm and build an EXO. The world's really need it. So yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me, Kevin. It was a pleasure to chatting with you.
Great. Thanks so much, Dea. And you have a fantastic evening.
You too. Thanks.
So that was Dea. So great to speak to so many amazing community members that we have. Wonderful. If one thing I did want to just share is that yesterday we ran EXO World Small Business Summit, and it was a really amazing time. If you weren't able to get there, we would like to let you know that we do have a digital replay that is available, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit about that as we end off today's show. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you again same time next week.